Welcome back to Special Friends Podcast. My name is Mary Santora.
And I'm Sarah Huntington.
Why are you laughing already? What? What is it?
I think we should start it where you go, was that a good clap?
We can start it there. I always feel like my first clap is never good. I don't know if it's just that I'm not ready for it or what.
Well, and you also don't like that I say clap, one big clap for the mic. Make that ass clap for the mic, Mary.
You've never said that second one.
It's a new one.
You tried something out?
Mm-hmm.
I have cat hair in my mouth, dude. Right there.
That's a Chloe.
Look at your mic. Well, don't touch it. It's going to sound terrible. Well, I guess I can mute your mic for that part, but what is she doing? She's up here trying to podcast?
Yeah. She's starting her own podcast.
Podcast?
You're not allowed to do puns.
Why?
Because it's my thing and you get mad at me. And I was already trying to think of one.
You weren't even going to say that.
I
was going to
be quicker. Say she's on the meowk.
Oh, see, that's so much worse, and you broke your own record. We're less than a minute in, and we have to end the podcast today. Sarah, just be faster and funnier, and we won't have this problem.
Well, you have to let me do the puns, then.
Then you have to be quicker than I am. If you want to get to him first and meowk. It's not it, brother.
You're psyching me out.
No. We're going to talk about worst bombs today, and I feel like this might be it for you. This is the worst you've ever performed.
This is the worst I've ever done.
In front of anybody, honestly. Do you want to go first? Or for those of you who are maybe not comedy audiences, a bomb is when a comic does really, really, really bad. And it's uncomfortable for everybody. The comics are uncomfortable. The audience is like, what am I looking at? What did you just do?
I just realized I can't hear myself, and it's because these aren't plugged in. It's okay.
We test before every time.
All good.
Before it's time to go. I even asked you.
I was like, something's funky.
I asked you, can you hear yourself in your headphones?
I didn't hear you say that.
I'm going to play the tape back. And you were like, yeah, I sound good. And then
you said, yeah, you did say that.
I did say that.
Yeah. Well, now I can.
Sarah's been bombing this whole... She's just screwing up.
Speaking of worst bombs, this is it.
That's what I said. Are you not listening to anything?
I couldn't hear you.
Oh my God. They're not soundproof. Just because you have these on doesn't mean you can't hear anything.
They're soundproof.
Oh
For everyone listening, I couldn't hear it at all.
I can't stand this right now. Anyway, a bomb is when a comic does really, 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 really bad. And I'm sure you've witnessed them if you've been to a comedy show. Not all comics do great. Everybody bombs. Everybody, every stand-up comedian you've ever met bombs at some point, and it sucks, and it hurts, and you sit there, and you're like, what am I worth? Why am I doing this? I should quit. Some of them are the audience's fault. Some of them are your fault. Some of it, there's no reason. Or the people in front of you do well, and then you don't do well, and then the person after you does well, and you're like, I have no idea what happened.
Well, then
I
it's probably
in the right
you.
Headspace. What'd you say?
Well, then it's probably you. If everyone did well besides you, well, that was a you problem.
Right. Yeah, sometimes no one does well.
Yeah.
I was on a show the other night.
Sometimes I stay and make sure that the other comics after me also do bad, so I can be like, all right, wasn't me.
Right.
Bad crowd.
Because you never want to blame the crowd immediately. At least I don't. If I have a bad set, I'm kind of like,
for sure.
What could I have done differently? Did I do that joke? What was my attitude going into this? Am I tired? There's a thing in 12-step where if you're feeling like you want to use, you halt, HALT, and it's, are you hungry, angry, lonely, or tired?
Oh, so every day?
Well, it's only if you feel like using, because those are things you can fix immediately. If you're hungry, you can have a snack. If you're angry, you can do breathing exercises. If you're lonely, you can call a friend. If you're tired, you can take a nap. So those are hey.
Those are the 3 ways you wake up, I feel like.
Hungry, angry, lonely, and tired? Yeah. What are the 3 of the 4? Hungry, lonely, and tired, or angry?
Yeah, not so much angry.
I'm not that lonely.
Okay.
You think I'm really lonely because I don't hang out with people.
No. I think you're lonely because you miss your boyfriend.
I miss my boyfriend, but I'm not lonely. I don't feel lonely a lot because I don't mind being by myself.
Same.
To me, being alone and hanging out at home, that's totally cool for me.
Yeah, I don't feel alone when I am with myself.
You don't feel lonely when you're with yourself.
Yeah, I don't feel lonely when I'm with myself. In fact, it's one of my favorite activities.
No, it isn't, dude. And I feel like you don't do well by yourself. After a day, you're like, where's everybody? I've never talked to anybody before.
Well, yeah. One day, fully alone, though, that's great. But then, I like to go back out.
I could probably do 3.
Yeah.
Like 3 days, if I were on a beach with no one else around me, I've done that before where I've just like picked up and bought a Frontier ticket to Florida and just been like, I'm going to go sit on the beach and read my book and I'm not going to talk to anybody all weekend.
I've never done a solo trip and I want to this year.
Sarah.
I want to go
she
to
wants
Portugal.
to go to a hostel in Peru. She's
Yeah.
learning Spanish on Duolingo.
Yeah, I am. I really am. No, now I'm going to Portugal.
Oh,
And I
Portugal.
want to do the whole coast of Portugal. So start in the south, work my way up. And I did find out you don't have to know Portuguese. Knowing Spanish can help, but also you don't have to know Spanish either.
Okay.
But if I know a little mix of Spanish and English, but every person I tell, they're like, I'll go with you. Like I told you and you're like, do you want me to go?
Well, I said, is this something that you feel like you need to do for yourself? Like, is this a 30-something trip that you need to have on your own, or do you want company? And I asked that because I know you travel for a living, but you do that in America. And you're prone to screw ups sometimes.
But when I have traveled out of the country, I've been with my mom, and I am a much better traveler than my mom. So I feel like I've been in control of all the situation. Anytime I've traveled far, it's been with my mom, she's terrible at travel because she's from a tiny town.
Yeah.
So she doesn't
Most
understand.
boomers, especially boomer moms. I took my mom on her first flight in 2021. Her brother died, and we had to fly down to Florida. She had never been on an airplane before.
Oh yeah, I think it's not out of fear either.
No.
It was just she had just never
Poor.
had an opportunity to be on one.
No, she had plenty of opportunities. She just would rather drive.
Right.
So her thing
That's
was
such a boomer mom thing to do.
such a boomer mom thing.
A boomer thing to do is if it's less than 12 hours, they're going to drive.
See, but even Ohio to Florida is like that's a 2-day thing. That's 18 hours. And she was ready to drive it. We're going to South Carolina in July. Mm-hmm. And my sister and my mom are driving with a van full of kids.
Yeah.
No, it's not that bad. I'm like, what? And I guess if you have 2 people to drive, you can do it straight. One person sleep, one person drive, but that's not it.
My family still has, I always say they have like poor people qualities still, even though now they don't have to live like that, but they still drive everywhere.
It's ingrained.
Yeah. And I'm like, my mom, not so much now. She's more of a flyer, but they'll still like, if it's less than 8 hours, they still want to drive. And I'm like, we don't have to do that anymore. We don't have to.
We're talking about this. It's a family vacation with all my siblings and me and Brian was going to come, but whatever, he can't anymore. And Blake and everybody. And we're talking about it in our family group chat and everyone's driving except us. Where I was like,
Brian.
Brian's not coming. So it'll just be me and Blake. But I was like, we're flying. You're out of your mind if you think I'm going to be in a car with a child for a day and a half. Like, no way. Anyway.
For me, if it's more than 5 hours, I'm flying.
4 is my limit for driving. Well, 5, I guess, because here's my thing. From Cleveland to Chicago is like 5.5 hours. And it's like a 40-minute flight. Where I'm like, if I can get my total daytime would be like 3 hours by the time I get to the airport, on the flight, into the airport, back to my hotel. Yeah. So it saves like 2 hours.
Yeah. Mine is Indianapolis to Nashville is as far as I'll go. Yeah. And then after that, I'm like, okay, we're flying past that point.
Anyway, we're talking about bombs. That's because we got on the lonely thing. So those are things you can fix immediately. So those are kind of questions that I would ask myself after a set. Was I hungry? Was I tired? Was I pissed? Was I whatever? Did I fuck this up? And then if everyone does poorly, then I'm like, okay, it doesn't matter how I feel because no one did well. Like I was on a super diverse lineup a couple days ago where there were 5 comics, completely different styles, completely different backgrounds, completely different types of comedy, and everyone did poorly. So we were like, if you couldn't find something to like in this hour and a half, like one guy was a one-liner comic, one guy was Middle Eastern, one guy was from the South. You know what I mean? Like one person was a storyteller. And it's just like, if you can't find anything to like,
and
then
I heard
it's not
those
us.
guys, as they were walking upstairs, they were like, they all suck. They liked one comic who they looked exactly like, but they were like, they all sucked. And I was like, if you thought not even one joke that you liked, then you just don't like comedy.
In 90 minutes?
Yeah, you like one guy.
Right.
And if you liked him so much, you should have just waited until he did a headlining set somewhere. Yeah. And you could have just seen him. Yeah. Don't go to a showcase mic where you're going to have to see other comics if you really don't like comedy.
Right. So, you want to go first?
I can go first.
You text me.
Okay, yes.
Is that the one you're going to do or no?
Well, that one's pretty quick, so
Okay.
I think I might be able to fit both of them.
I was like, I have 2 prepared just in case, because sometimes these stories can be, it sucked, you know?
So I remember my first bomb, but I texted Mary this weekend, and I was like, I might have a new bomb story. And she's like, say no more.
Don't say a word
And all I said was, apparently 60-year-old Italian men are not interested in what I have to say.
Which, at what point in the world would they be?
Right.
Like, what do you have in common with a 6-year-old Italian man?
Yeah.
Nothing.
No,
Nothing. Maybe a love of imported cured meats.
Yeah, that's true. I like a supersata.
Mm-hmm. A what?
A supersata?
A what?
Supersata?
A what?
What's it called? How do you say it?
Sopressata.
Sopressata.
Uh-huh.
Sopressata.
Say another one.
I can't think of another. Salami? Is that right?
Mind you.
Prosciutto?
Super Soto wants to travel alone to Peru.
Whatever. Like, what are they gonna do? Not feed me if I say their food wrong?
I'm messing with
What are
you.
they gonna, yeah, you can't eat. Sorry, you said donata wrong. Thank you. I don't know. I can't think of a Spanish food right now. Pesca. Sorry, you can't have fish because you said it weird. That's not gonna happen. You're just jealous because I'm going on a trip.
I'm not jealous. I could go on a trip too if I wanted to. Anyway, 6-year-old Italian man, set it up for us. Where were you? How did you find out about it?
Another comic, Mario Bosco. He's funny. It was like, hey, do you want to do my show? It paid well, and it was deep in Brooklyn. But I was like, it's an hour ride on the subway. I had another show at 10, but whatever. I'm just gonna go out there, and it paid well. So I didn't really know what I was getting myself into. I honestly just heard the money. And in New York, you don't make a lot of money in comedy. You have to travel outside of New York to make money. Mm-hmm. And then now that we're living here, it's like, oh, now we're spending $200 to travel.
Or more.
Yeah. Once you get like a rental car, Uber, all that, it's like $500. So it's been not as good money-wise this year. So anyway, just like getting paid a normal Midwest amount here in New York, I was like, I'll do it. And so I get there, it's very deep in Brooklyn, and it's at an Italian restaurant. And I walk in, and I knew that Mario was Italian. I didn't know that he was like Italian.
Like that right? Italian, yeah.
Like where he has lived in this same place for a very long time. Everyone there knew him. Yeah. Everyone at the restaurant knew each other.
Well, and he's running a show there too. Because that'll happen if you've ever run like a monthly show. You start to know the cooks and everybody,
So even the host was super, super Italian. And I he's a comic, but also just known in that community. And so he did good. Another comic went up. He did very poorly. And I think the reason we all did pretty bad is because it was like dinner and a show.
Yeah.
And the worst thing that you can give to people during a comedy show is a bunch of food. One, because you can't laugh while you're eating.
Right.
And it was paninis. Okay. So everyone is eating these paninis that I swear are 8 inches thick.
8 inches, fellas. You see that? You see that? 8 inches.
That's 8 inches.
And I don't want to speak out of turn, but she might be looking for 8 inches. In case anyone's...
I'm very kind. And I care about men's feelings. 8 inches.
Wow, Sarah. We need to have an off-camera
It's
talk.
about a personality thing for me.
Oh, okay? Is that what
it's not the panini. It's how good it tastes.
It's the sauce. Anyway.
So everyone's eating these paninis. And there's no one... There's a few people maybe in like their 40s, but the whole front row is all elderly. And so I get up there and I'm like...
Elderly is like 85.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there was a 90-year-old man in the front row.
Oh, damn.
Yeah.
Wow.
Like, yeah, the 90 years old. They told me afterwards because I was like, I don't think he could hear me. And they're like, no, he can't.
Yeah.
But they still run a catering business. Mm-hmm. Him and his wife are 90 years old, and they are still running one of the biggest catering companies in Brooklyn.
That is Italians, though.
Yeah, they don't stop working.
They never stop working, and their big thing is, I'm not going to pay someone to do what I can do. Right. So until I physically, my family's Italian, until I physically cannot do this job anymore, my legs don't work, my arms don't work.
Your family's everything.
What do you mean?
There was what else? pierogies. What are pierogies?
Polish, Hungarian, and Italian.
Okay, all right.
Those are the three. And so white. Every white you can be. Polish, Hungarian, Italian. A little bit Irish.
Yeah.
Anyway. But yeah, they're like, until my body physically shuts down, I'm not paying someone to come in and do anything for me. If I can, even if it takes me 8 hours to put together one catering tray,
well,
I'm putting it together.
Our landlords are Italian. No, they're Greek. Never mind. I feel like that goes hand in hand. I don't know.
I think a lot of immigrants, that's like a very, sorry, my leg is falling asleep.
But like they have a family member for everything. It's like nephew Tony is going to come over and fix our toilet, and then nephew Brian is going to come paint the walls for us. Like they have a nephew for everything.
Also, on that note, if we can't hear it because we have our soundproof headphones on.
Oh yeah, if you hear the Gluck Gluck 3000 going on in the back, it's because nephew Tony needs to come over and fix our sink.
We don't know what's going on, but it keeps being like
Ever since the new people moved in upstairs, now we've got something going on with our sink.
We don't know what it is.
They're slamming doors.
They do slam the doors at 6
They're glucking up the sink.
Anyway, just in case you hear that. So you got elderly Italians in the front row.
And they're all eating. The first comic did pretty bad. But also, first comic, whatever. So I get up there, and I could just tell that everyone's very confused by me. I think also sometimes when it's like older men, they're just confused that I'm even talking into a microphone.
They're like,
in front
wait
of
a minute, what's happening?
Yeah.
Are you a new waitress here?
Exactly. I think some of them thought that I was like a hostess that was like,
the owner of a black BMW license plate, like that's what they think is going to come out of your mouth, and like, wait a minute, they gave this broad, she's about to do what?
Does anyone need refills on their teas?
Right.
I'm not doing any stage time. So I start to do my set, and then like I like started out with just like the heaters where I'm talking about like my family, my upbringing, and it's like bombing, which I was like, that's like my introduction, always does well pretty much in any crowd because people just like find it funny to talk about being white trash. And then finally I look at them and I'm like, I'm just confusing you guys. Like, we're all white in here, but like I'm a different kind of white, and you have no idea what to do with me. You're very confused. And then finally just the 90-year-old woman in the front row goes, I just can't hear you.
But that's one lady though.
Yeah.
That's not the whole room.
Yeah. And so I was like, oh, you can't hear me? And I was like, can I like move the mic? And so then I'm like, so then I'm in like, then I really am in hostess mode where I'm like, well, you want me to move like the speaker for you? Would this help? Like, and I'm like, what am I doing? Why am I asking this lady if she wants help with the speaker? So then I go into my new bit. Of course.
The trans bit?
No, God, no.
I was like, is it the one about Gen Z being gay? Because I bet they related to that.
Yeah, no. I was like, I'm going to talk about my family. And then I have like kind of some new bits about like growing up poor and then having money now. Like, so I was like, oh, they might understand this. They're Italians. They all have money. No, they didn't get that. So then I'm like, okay, let me go into my cat bit, which is also new.
Cats. Now you're speaking 60-year-old man language.
I'm like, I'm realizing in that moment, I was like, I have no material for 60-year-old men. I don't. And like, I'm sorry, but I don't. Unless I was
don't
just
respect
like
you.
Very dirty, which I have like, I was like, man, I have like a couple old jokes that are really, really dirty, but like they're all sitting in here eating paninis. I don't want to talk about anal while you're like enjoying a panini.
Right.
So I was like, no, I'm not going to go into that. So then I start talking about my cat. And the old man just goes, throw it out the window.
The 80-year-old or the 90-year-old
in the front row.
Throw it out the window.
And I go, what'd you say? He goes, if I had that cat, I'd throw it out the window. I don't know why I'm giving him a southern accent.
He does not have a southern accent.
He doesn't have an accent.
There's no way he sounds like
He doesn't sound like that at all, but I don't know. It was old man talk. I don't know how to sound like an old man.
Throw it out the window.
Throw it out the window. That's what it sounded like. Throw it out the window.
Yeah.
And everyone loses it, cracks up.
Oh, that's the biggest laugh of your set.
The biggest laugh of my set. So then I'm like, well, now I just got to talk to these people.
Yeah.
So then I'm just talking to them, but they're giving me nothing other than the fact that they own a catering business. But we're just like, the communication is not there. So then I'm like, all right, well, let's just like buckle down and get through this set. Thank God.
How long were you supposed to do?
15.
Okay. Which can feel like 2 years.
It did. And yeah, then I just kind of like, when you end it and they don't even laugh at that very end joke and you just have to go,
it hurts.
all right, well, I'm Sarah Huntington.
Well, and what a lot of comics will do is they'll try to end on a laugh. But if it's
Yes.
going poorly, then they'll do 3 or 4 in a row, and none of them are hitting. And then at some point, you have to just be like, all right, I'm out of here, man.
You know
And-
what? I don't do that.
Well, because if the set's already going poorly,
Mm-hmm.
then I'm going to end on whatever it was. But if I've had an okay set and my last joke doesn't do well, I might do 1 more.
Okay,
But I'm not going to do more than 2.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean?
Yes, I'm like that. If my whole set went really well and then I just ended on a bad joke, I'm like, all right, let me get 1 more in there.
Yeah.
But if the whole set's going bad, I am not one of those
It's not
people
gonna get
that's
better.
going to sit up there
It's not
and
gonna get better.
try and try. I'm like, I want the set to be over.
Yes.
So as soon as you
So do
give me
they.
that light, I might do 10 more seconds after you give me that light. The light, you get like 1 or 2 minutes.
They flash a little
normally.
light at you, and it means, hey, wrap it up. You got a minute or 2 left. And some people will get that light, do a minute, not get a laugh, and then do another joke that's a minute and a half, not get a laugh. Then do a 2-minute joke that. So now you're 4 minutes over
Now
when
you're
you
running
should have
the
been there.
light.
It's called running the light, and it's very disrespectful for the venue and the other performers and things like that. You're not supposed to do it at all. But if it's like a minute and you do end up getting a laugh, whatever. No one really cares. But when you do it 5 or 6 times in a row, people are like, just please end this. Just end our misery, please.
Yes. So I did not do that. I was like, all right, well, that's as good as it gets. Thank you guys so much. And as I'm going off stage, the 90-year-old man grabs me by the arm and goes, "You're the hottest white trash woman I've ever seen."
So he did know what white trash was.
He did know what white trash was. He just didn't laugh at it. I go,
But you're the hottest.
I go, oh, thank you.
Did it make you feel better?
No.
It didn't make you feel better when a World War II veteran touched you? That didn't make your set that was bad?
The hottest white trash woman I've ever seen. I'm like, how do you even know those terms? How do you even know hottest? You don't get to say that.
Yeah.
They weren't saying that stuff during. Yeah, foxy.
Okay. Well, that sucks.
Yeah.
How would you rate it on a scale of 1 to 10?
I would say like 3.
Okay.
Yeah, I've had worse.
Yeah.
I've had worse. I'll try and do it quick. My worst bomb ever. I was 1 year into comedy. No reason I should have ever been hosting a weekend at this point.
Okay.
But it was literally the week that we were able to open back up after COVID. And so I also hadn't done comedy. And I started in 2019. So I did comedy open mics for like a year. And then pandemic happened, 6 months off, then started comedy. So I'm a 1 year
So wait a minute. You started in 2019.
Mm-hmm.
So you had a year of open mics under your belt. And then your social media took off.
In 2021.
2021.
So
Okay.
I had all of 2020. Well,
we were shut down. So
Yeah.
you had 6 months
well,
of
my
2020.
social media took off during the pandemic.
That's what I'm
kind of.
saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, so end of 2020. So you've kind of learned comedy with a following.
Yeah, I kind of am a TikTok comedian. I hate to say it, but I did start stand up first, though. I really did. I was a year
3
in.
months.
Also, I started getting booked on shows like 3 months in.
Everybody does.
Yeah.
It's just a Midwest thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
Anyway.
it wasn't like I was like just doing open mics.
You had no business hosting a weekend.
I had no business hosting a whole weekend. I opened up for a comic, very urban comic, known for his content style to be nothing like mine.
Urban means black.
Yeah, it was an all black
For
room.
anyone listening, urban is like the PC way in comedy to say black. It's
Yeah.
a black room. It's a black headliner.
And comedy is one of those times where things are segregated a lot of times.
There
Like,
can be, and actually my bomb will lead right into this after that. There, at least in Cleveland, and I'm sure in there's 2 different scenes.
Oh, yeah.
There's a white scene and a black scene, and there's an urban scene. And there's comics you've never even heard of.
Yeah.
In the black scene.
That are doing
in
really
your
well.
City, in your city that are successful, that are making money, that are hosting shows. And I'm sure, I don't know if it's the same way the other way that they don't know about me. But yeah, there's definitely a divide still in like black and white comedy.
And it just like every once in a while you'll get a person that crosses over. I can think of like 4 or 5 people in Indianapolis where like they cross over. But also I started out in a black room. Jokers in Indianapolis, which is shut down now. But like that's where I started out. That's how I started doing comedy.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think maybe the booker of this club was just like, oh yeah, like she like started out in urban rooms. Let's give her this. And I'm like, oh, no.
Are you comfortable saying who the headliner was or no?
Yeah, his name was Benji Brown.
Benji.
He's from Cleveland.
I know
I
Benji.
just thought about that.
I don't think he's from Cleveland.
His opener
His
was.
opener is from Cleveland.
Yes.
I know his opener very, very well.
Yes.
Now I want to text Rob and be like, how poorly did you do?
Well, him and I talked. First
Rob
off,
and I started at the same time. Rob and I are very good friends. But talk freely because
Yeah.
he and I talk shit to each other all
also,
the time.
this was like a year in, and him and I have had conversations since.
Okay.
So everything's fine.
Oh, I'm so much more invested in this story now.
But-
it's people I actually know. Benji Brown is hilarious, and he's very high energy.
Yes.
And he's like he does like sound effects and like.
And he does, his whole bit when I was doing it with him was he did like the girl. He was impersonating like a woman, I don't know, some woman.
Sure.
Like Letitia or something.
Sure.
Like it was a whole bit about like, Letitia, like get over here, like that.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
he's very silly.
yes. And so, okay, so I get there.
And Rob is like Rob Ward, who's very funny that I've known since I started comedy. He's like talks about being a dad, and it's kind of more like mainstream stuff. Talks about being a dad, an old firefighter. He's like a chubby dude. He talks about doing fat shit, stuff like that.
His jokes would work pretty much anywhere. Like he could be hired.
Rob has crushed in every room I've ever seen him do.
Yeah,
Doesn't
he
matter
could be
who the
hired
audience
to
is.
do pretty much any room.
Yeah.
So I get back, and also I'm only a year in, so I like go into the green room. I'm sitting there.
So you're 22?
No,
23?
I'm 26, 27. I started comedy when I was 26,
You're 31.
32.
So you've only been doing comedy 6 years.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, go
I
ahead.
just hit my 6-year mark. And
26 years old. You're in a room full of black men and women.
Yes.
Benji Brown's a headliner.
Yes. And after I went on stage and I bombed, which I'll get back to that, Rob was like, hey, just so you know, you're not supposed to be in the green room unless the headliner invites you.
So you were just hanging out making it weird?
I don't know. And so I was like, oh, I'm sorry. Like I didn't know. I thought that I was just like allowed to be in the green room.
And you're a new comic too.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I'm like, I thought that because I was on the show, I was allowed to be in the green room. I still to this day, I'm kind of like, I'm allowed to be in the green room.
It depends. Honestly, it depends on the headliner. There are some headliners that don't want anyone, no openers in the green room. Like, this is my space to get in my head, to get ready. And, I mean, that's something that comes along with being a headliner.
You've done Indianapolis Helium,
Yes.
where, like, you have to be back there to go on stage.
Yeah, but you don't have to be in the room.
Yeah.
You'd be in the hallway.
Yeah.
Or you have to wait at the bar, which is a little awkward, and maybe it makes you feel
Well, the bar
little
wasn't
bit-
open. This was right after COVID.
But you could be out there.
Yeah.
Do you get what I'm saying? You don't have to be drinking just to be sitting in another area or the sound room or whatever.
Yeah.
I've had headliners do that before where
you
they've
can't
just
be in
been
there?
like,
Tell you can't be in there.
where they're just like their space, where they're like nobody's in here. It'll be like them and their wife, and they keep the door shut and locked the whole time. And we just, okay, that's what you want. That's how you get in the zone. It is what it is, you know?
Yeah. So that happens. And so then I'm like, oh, well, now I feel rude. Now I feel awkward.
Yeah.
And also I just bombed in front of them to open the show. But I got on stage to talk about the bomb. I got on stage and I remember the first words out of my mouth, I was like, how we doing? And this 290-pound woman just looks at me and goes, you tell me, baby.
Yep. That's a black crowd, dude.
And I went, and
zero grace. No grace. They don't give you any leeway. I feel like black
arms
crowds,
crossed.
yes,
her
they
boobs
show
were
up.
to her chin. She goes, you tell me, baby.
Yeah, they want to be, hey, if you funny, show me, prove it.
Yeah.
I spent money, I look good. Black audiences, they dress to the nines too.
Yes.
Everybody looks good. They got babysitters.
She's like, I got
they do
heels
this.
on for this and I got a sitter. So
Exactly.
you tell me, bitch.
Yeah.
Are you funny?
There's two main clubs in Cleveland, Hilarities, and I think it's called the Improv now. No, it was the Improv. Now it's a Funny Bone. Whatever. Black Room, White Room. White Room Hilarities, Black Room Improv. And it was funny because people are like, oh, well, the audiences of the Improv are mean. I'm like, no, there's just no leeway. Like, if there is a 40-second gap where you have a pause, someone's going to scream something, especially if you're not doing well.
Or if they can tell you're uncomfortable. So immediately I say that, she says that, and then they can see it on my
Give
face.
it back. You gotta
where
give
I'm
it right
like,
back.
I didn't, because at this time, one, I'm a year into comedy. Two, I'm like looking at myself. I'm looking at her, and I'm like, she doesn't want to hear me talk back to her. That's not what she wants. Like, she wants me to be funny and tell jokes. So then I'm like, all right, let me just get into my set then. And I'm like, and then I don't do any of my hosting stuff because I'm like, well, let me just get into the jokes.
Yeah.
So like when you host, you're supposed to, you know, at least say something or like do one thing of like, is anyone's birthday in here, just to get people involved in like a clap of some sort. Or like, everybody give it up for Benji's in the back, let him hear it, something. No, I didn't do any of that. I just go, oh. So then just go right into my jokes. And for 10 minutes, just bombed. Just
was it silent or were they heckling? Because
no heckling.
Oh, okay.
When they weren't heckling after that lady, but it was just kind of like every once in a while someone would go,
yeah,
like you know, one of those like
a shoulder jiggle.
Yeah, just like
yeah.
And so then I have to just introduce Rob after that. Rob comes up and then he just ends up introducing Benji. I don't even go back up.
Oh, I think they might do that, though, because they're used to being a two-man show.
Yeah.
So based on what I know about those two, and I've only met Benji twice, so just based on basically what Rob's told me, they travel together a lot, or Benji will bring one opener. So to be honest with you, you might have been a surprise.
I was.
Okay.
And I'm learning that. I learned that after.
They were probably thinking two-man show, and now who is this bitch hanging out? Why is she, you know
why is this 25-year-old white girl sitting in our room with us?
Yes.
That we didn't even expect to be here.
Correct.
Also, she bombed in front of my crowd.
Yes.
So I'm like,
and Benji sells tickets. He sells out. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't sold out.
Well, it's also COVID.
Yeah. But, and I also don't know anything about him. This is, again, where it's, like, kind of segregated. Like, I don't know who this man is. Like, and I also don't know who Rob is. So, like, none of us know each other.
Yeah.
And we have nothing in common. Mm-hmm. And at one point, Benji did sing the song Sarah to me. You know, the Sarah. And I think it was to make me feel better because I was doing so poorly. No, it didn't. No. Why would that make me feel better?
So wait, you had to do the whole weekend, or he only let you do the one show?
No, I like talked to Rob after, where I was like, oh God, he's like, it's okay. Like, you know, like, we're used to this being a 2-man show, so don't worry about it. I'll still introduce him. You just do 7 minutes up top for the rest of the weekend. And just like, he's like, don't worry about telling jokes. Just like, get the crowd hype. Okay. He's like, that's what you got to do. He's like, you got to go out there. You got to get the crowd hype. It's not even about like what jokes you tell. Like, just make sure that you're like, you know, getting out there and like being fun. Mm-hmm. And so the rest of the weekend, I actually didn't do that bad because I did take his advice and I was just kind of like silly and goofy. And it was the first time I ever relaxed and didn't worry about like set up punchline. Yeah. I was just like, oh, whatever. Like, let's just have fun. So I didn't do bad the rest of the weekend, but that first night where I was like, I don't know if you've ever had a room full of 100 heavy-set black women staring at you like
it's terrifying.
You're the worst person they've ever seen. I'm like,
truly terrifying.
I just want to impress you. Mm-hmm. I just want you to like me. You came out here, your titties are out, you look good, well, and I'm up here ruining the night.
I can't. There's something stuck in my throat. That is exactly why my worst bomb story. I have two, but this one, since you're doing an urban room one, I'll do that too. I was auditioning for Kevin Hart's Heart of the City, which is, I don't think they still do it anymore, but Kevin Hart basically went around and found like 3 unknown comics in each city and produced specials for them. Actually, Rob Ward was on Heart of the City. Okay. He was one of the people picked from Cleveland.
Also, Rob, we are cool now.
So when you talk about not knowing what this is, I'm trying to think of what year this was. This was pretty early. I want to say maybe 2017. I was still drinking. So maybe 2016, 2015, somewhere in there. So I was maybe 3 or 4 years into comedy. And again, we hear about Heart of the City. We hear about, through the grapevine, you hear about people getting it. And I'm like, okay, this is Comedy Central. This is a huge credit. Like, I'm one of the best in my city. I know that. Mm-hmm. I have to audition for this. So the guy who had set it up, someone I've never heard of, but apparently very well known in like the black comedy scene, but he's like older. Like at this point he was in his like 50s, and he had kind of everyone knew about him. He had run shows, things like that, blah blah blah. So it's at this like jazz venue downtown Cleveland, and again a room I never heard of. I didn't know they did comedy there. I think I don't even know if it still exists. It was called Take 5 downtown Cleveland. And
there was one more thing. There was a venue in Indianapolis where it was like an urban room, and it was called Wonderful. ONEDERFULL.
Nice.
I was like,
There you go. So this is like a jazz venue, and we get there. There's 40 comics on the lineup, and everyone is supposed to do 5 minutes. And we're sitting there, and we're like, this is way too many people. Like, this can't keep. There's no way we're gonna get through this night. This is gonna be a 7-hour show.
Yeah.
And so we find out, you think when you're auditioning for a Comedy Central show that's produced and Kevin Hart's the name of it, you think you're going to be auditioning for Comedy Central people. You think you're going to be auditioning for someone.
Did you think you were going to meet Kevin Hart?
No, but I thought someone from his team would be there. I thought it would be like producers from Comedy Central.
Yeah.
They had a camcorder set up in the back, like the old school long camcorders, okay? He had a camcorder set up in the back. I don't even know if it had sound attached to it. I have no idea. And that was it.
And you paid money to audition? Okay.
Hold on. We'll get there. So that is what is being taped and sent in to Comedy Central. Okay. And I guess there's 2 nights of this. So like almost and well over 60 comics and auditioning for this. So they were charging like $30 at the door for people to come in and watch this audition. So the guy who's running it is racking in money because they are putting 100 people in there at $30 a piece, and then people are buying drinks and all this. He gave none of the comics any money because it was an audition, so he's making $3,000.
Oh my god!
And I've never heard of this guy.
How did they get people to come in to watch this? They just wanted to see people
I
because
think
he was
they
selling
built
it as like
Kevin
auditioning.
Hart.
Kevin Hart.
I think they were
auditions.
like Kevin Hart auditions, and people like kind of like we
we'll
thought.
see Kevin
Maybe
Hart.
a famous person will be there. Maybe Kevin Hart will be there. Maybe he'll come out and welcome everybody. There was not really a lot of information.
Yeah,
but
it was like the Keenan Presents or whatever that we had happen too.
So, the room is full, and the night's going, and the sets. It's too many people. Flat out.
How much time do you get?
You're supposed to do 5 minutes. Okay. And some people, a stereotype in black rooms is that they tend to run the light. Okay. The black comics more than white, but everybody does. It doesn't matter really. I don't think, but whatever. So I just particularly happened to go after a guy who did. So I'm already in my head. I'm already nervous. I couldn't have been more than a couple years into comedy because I was still doing jokes about being a cheerleader. And I was still doing jokes about like college. So this had to have been like 2014 or 15 where I'd have been 2 or 3 years in. And I still weighed like 120 pounds. And I think I even had like a couple fat jokes in there. Like it was all bad. Okay. And so the guy who goes before me, never heard of him before, but he goes up and his whole set, I don't remember the whole set, but definitely the closer. It felt like 25 minutes of this was what if gospel songs, had R&B lyrics or like what if R&B songs were sung to gospel tunes. That's basically what it was.
He would have killed on TikTok.
Well, that's what it was let's take these very well-known 90s R&B songs and set them to the tune of gospel music.
You know the TikToks where it's like, what if this song was over this? And then they do it?
Yes, but this is a very black version of that.
Yeah.
Like
I'm not saying he should do it on stage.
Right.
But that would have killed on TikTok.
So it killed in real life. So this guy is up there and he's doing these songs, but they're songs I've never heard of that all 100 people in the audience know by heart. So they are standing up and they're singing along and they're dancing and everyone.
And this is the religious song or the R&B song?
It's an R&B song
over the beat
set to a religious, a gospel, like music.
Yeah.
R&B lyrics. Yeah. Gospel music.
Okay.
I'll
make love to you.
Sure. Yes. Boys to Men, but set over, I don't know, Amazing Grace, whatever it might be.
I'll make love to you.
Yes. Okay. But it's like D'Angelo and shit. All right.
Yeah.
So I'm watching this happen and I'm like, there's no way. I can't go next. And he did like 3 of them and each one got better. And each one had more people standing up and dancing and each one. And I'm watching him.
So not only has he done really well, he also hyped the crowd up.
To a point you can, what am I supposed to do?
It's like opening up. It's like going after a band, essentially.
Yeah.
Is what you did. You just went after a musical artist. I've never seen someone destroy. At that point, I've never seen someone destroy like this.
And I'm just standing there. And the other comic, he gets off stage. They're standing up, screaming, hollering. He's high-fiving people. He's giving out hugs and everything. And I'm just standing waiting to go on the stage next. And I'm looking around. I'm like, I'm already worked up because I'm like, there's no way. There's no
up, like
way
you're gonna cry?
I can do anything. And so I'm standing there, and I was the only one who gave the host a credit. But by this point, we're 20 comics in.
Yeah.
And the host didn't remember my name. He was drunk. He fucked up my credit. So now, like you were saying how that black lady is like impressed me. Well, now I'm the only one who was like, oh, she's been nominated by Cleveland Magazine as best comedian in Cleveland. So not only do I have to follow this, he fucked it up and was like, your next comic is the best comic in Cleveland. A bunch of people voted on it. And then he's like, Mary. So he didn't even say my name right. He like made up this she's the best comic in Cleveland thing. And then he brings me on stage and these people are pissed because they're very much like, okay, best comic in Cleveland, then be the best comic in Cleveland. After this dude just ran a fucking full church service and is doing fellowship.
And nobody else gave him credits other than you?
No, not a single person
Why
gave
didn't you
credit.
just say, never mind, don't tell those?
I didn't know. I didn't think. I'm in my head, right? So the guy before me, he's doing fellowship in the lobby and still has people coming up to him. And I'm like...
They're having a congregation
They
in the
are.
lobby.
He's passing the tip plate around and handing out friggin' saving souls, doing communion out in the front. And I'm like... and I like... It was
kissing
just,
babies' heads.
It was terrible from the very beginning. There was no matching that guy's energy. I shouldn't have given a credit. The guy fucked up my name. And then I did the thing where I kept trying to end on a laugh. And they flashed the light at me at 4 minutes, which is you have 1 minute left. And I had been bombing. I mean, it was so bad. And it got to the point where I was so overwhelmed. My like voice was shaking. And so like I was fighting to hold back tears.
Yeah.
So then they hit me with that and the light comes and I'm like, oh no, I haven't gotten a laugh. And I know this is for Comedy Central. So then I'm like,
and you're looking at this camcorder, looking at you, like, this is going to Kevin Hart.
Kevin Hart is going to watch
Kevin
this.
Hart is going to watch me cry.
Yes, dude. So it's just compiling and getting worse in my brain. So then I'm trying to end, and then I'm trying to end.
And it's funny because you're still telling your jokes, but you have your second brain. Like, you have your joke brain going, but you have your second brain going like, okay, I just have to end on a laugh. Maybe Kevin Hart won't notice if I just, like, end on a laugh. Maybe they don't even watch the first 2 minutes. And, like, you've got that going on while still actively talking to a crowd.
So I'm freaking out, and then I get my second light at 5 minutes where they like flash it, and I still haven't gotten a laugh. So then I do another joke, and like you said, I'm digging at straws. My voice is shaking. I am on the brink of tears in my eyes, and then I still don't get a laugh. I made it to like 7.5 minutes with nothing, and I'm desperately trying to get anything by these people with a laugh. And nothing, to the point where they were like flashing the stage lights. No, they were just like
not
very uninterested, kind of talking amongst themselves. Like it was like silent, and then it broke out into
sharing
like
appetizers together.
Yeah, they didn't care. People are going to the bathroom.
Around,
people are leaving, all that. So they're flashing the stage lights at me now. So now not just like the hey,
they're about
get
to
off
cut
light.
Off your mic.
They're about to cut off my mic. So I just ended on whatever. Stepped foot off stage, ran to the bathroom, and instantly started sobbing. Like, like crying, because I'm thinking I just blew my only shot.
Your career
at being
is
famous.
over.
Like, this is Comedy Central.
And you're like 2 years into comedy?
Well, yeah, but this is when Comedy Central was Comedy Central. You know what I mean? And it's Kevin Hart, and I'm crying and crying and crying, and I can't catch my breath. And I like have to take myself outside, and I'm such a mess because I was like, I felt so bad that I was like, I can't believe I'm going to do comedy. Like, it was a huge question of, should I even do this anymore?
Yeah, it's like you had those moments where you think about quitting.
Yeah, and that was one of them.
Yeah.
That was probably one of the first big ones where I was standing there and I was just like, I can't do this. Like, I can't feel this way. This hurts so much because it just destroys any ego you have.
Yeah.
Because you might think you're good or whatever, and then you get put in a situation, and it was terrible. And I remember leaving. I didn't stick around. I didn't watch anybody else's set. I was like, whatever, I'm leaving. And then I heard that he did the same thing, collected up all the money, had another 40, 30 comics, whatever, the next night. So when they go through, the 3 people they picked didn't even audition.
What?
Rob might have auditioned. I don't want to double step there, but one of the guys I know for sure did not audition.
So Rob got through.
Rob got through. Rob was one of the people on there. And then Nelson Davis and Mike Polk Jr. Mike Polk Jr., I know for a fact, did not audition for the show. And then, so what ended up happening is that this guy who was running it basically orchestrated a money grab, said that the videos got fucked up, didn't send in any of the videos, and then they just like went through agencies to pick, oh, who do you know in Cleveland? Who have you heard of? Who is good? And then like talk to the clubs and basically like word of mouth.
And so the people that auditioned, it was just like, yeah, make some money while we're trying to find these people. But you guys were just like to get money.
No. What I'm saying is that the dude who they trusted to do the auditions fucked it all up.
Oh, okay.
Comedy
so
Central
it wasn't a scam at first.
No,
okay.
It wasn't a scam.
I was thinking this dude scammed everybody and said it was Comedy Central.
No.
It was originally Comedy Central.
Heart of the City, Kevin Hart, yes. But this dude screwed it up so bad.
He didn't even really have a video recorder back there. It was just an old school camcorder.
It might not have even been on.
Yeah.
But yeah, at that point,
it
they
was
were
just
like...
something he found in his garage. He's like,
yeah, they were like, we can't use any of this. So now the Comedy Central people are scrambling.
Yeah.
Because now they're like, or maybe he wasn't supposed to audition 80 people. Yeah. You know what I mean? So one of the people, and then I guess that guy threw a fit that he wasn't one of the people who got chosen. That he was like, I should be one of the people because I ran this for you.
Yeah.
And they were like, you ran it wrong. Like, you didn't do any of the things we asked you to do. So it was a mess. And that's one of the worst times I've ever had on stage.
On the bright side, it didn't get sent to Comedy Central.
That's true. They didn't see me. They didn't see that.
On the bright side,
bomb.
like, yeah, had you not told that story right now, nobody would have to know except the 100 people that were in that room that day.
Yeah.
And all the other comics.
And it was one of those times because I had been consistently crushing up until that moment. And I was like very quickly on the rise in Cleveland, and watching the other comics look at me and be like, yeah, that sucked. Yeah. That also hurt because there was no denying how poorly it went. Mm-hmm. And I'm crying and I'm embarrassed because I'm crying, but I felt so shitty.
Well, you're embarrassed because you did bad. You're embarrassed because you're crying. So like, and there's nothing I hate more than being embarrassed. We know that. Like,
it was terrible. Like, I feel like we don't have time for another one.
Yeah.
A quick one. I'll do it very quickly. Because
Yeah.
there's one other time I felt just the worst I've felt in a very long time. I was opening for a YouTube guy. He's actually a Vine guy who went to YouTube, who went to TikTok, blew up on the internet.
And you're not going to say his name, right?
No, I don't have a problem with him. His name's Nick Coletti.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So he was very sweet. I have no issues with him at all.
Yeah.
So we're talking in the back. This is maybe 2021, right after things had opened back up. I don't think it was before that. So we're chatting. And he was like, I was like, oh, how long have you been doing comedy? He's like, I've been doing some little, 5-10 minute sets in LA. And then I'm big on social media. So my agent booked this tour for me, but he was very self-aware. Like, I don't think I'm ready to be doing an hour, So he was like in his head and he's like asking for advice. He couldn't have been nicer. He gave me his phone number. He's like, if you're ever in LA, absolutely zero problems with him. He was wonderful.
Absolutely.
But his audience is all 21-year-old drunk dudes.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
They like want to see the guy from the internet.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so they
want to yell like, bro.
His thing is dude. Like
yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's what they want to hear, right?
Yeah.
So but I don't know this. I see a full packed crowd and I'm like, oh my God, this is like a young audience. Maybe they'll relate to me more. This will be so great. We're gonna have so much fun. And I go up. It's supposed to be a 2-man show. I'm supposed to do 25.
Also, at this point in your life, you're probably like, what, 23?
No, this is 2021. This is 5 years ago.
So yeah, you were.
I'm 26.
Okay, but you're still like
I'm
in
35
that, like,
right now. Holy shit, I was 30.
Okay. I guess you're still kind of in that, like, I'm fun and cool.
I had just quit drinking, so I was like, well, I still relate to these people, like that kind of a thing.
Yeah.
But I was 9 years older than them, And also at this point, I'm talking about like being sober and like dating and things like that. So I go up, I'm supposed to do 25 and then he's going to do an hour. And I go up.
2-man show.
2-man show. I'm gonna go up. And when I say deafening silence, nothing. Not a laugh, not a cough, not a heckle, not a nothing. And I remember the first time I looked down at my phone, it had been 7 minutes and I had not gotten a laugh. And I'm trying everything.
Well, again, that goes back to people that go out to watch like a TikTok comedian, they probably haven't been to
they've
shows
never
before.
been to a comedy show.
So
They're young.
They're confused by who you are.
So I acknowledge that. I look down. It's been 7 minutes. I have gotten no laughs. I look around. I say, listen, guys, I understand that I'm not Nick, but we have another 20 minutes that we have to get through together. So let's all get on board. Nothing.
Oh my God.
No claps, no acknowledgement, no. I would have taken, hey, dumb bitch, get off the stage.
Yeah.
I would have taken anything
They're
at that
just
point.
sipping their beer like,
nothing, right?
what's this bitch
So now
on?
I'm like,
She on
God,
a period or
damn
something?
it, right? And so now I'm struggling, and I'm like, oh no. Like usually, if you at least acknowledge it, it might break it a little bit.
Break the silence of
break
like,
the
hey, I know
tension.
this is weird right now, but
Nothing. So then I'm fighting for my life. I'm going through, and I'm getting like a little titter here and there. But I mean, this is a room of 200 people right after COVID, so that was like almost sold out, right?
yeah.
And it gets to the point, I remember telling a joke about my dad who had just died. So this is 2021. My dad had just died, and I was doing a couple dead dad jokes that were very new. And I remember one dude, like beautiful 23, muscles sculpted. And I tell this dark dead dad joke, and he just goes, Jesus Christ, like that, like super loud. And then that got a laugh, kind of like you were describing. That got a laugh. And I was like, oh no. So then I kind of tried to lean into it.
There's nothing worse than when the audience gets the laugh. You're like, oh.
Yeah. So then I try to like lean into it. I'd be like, I know it's fucked up, right? But it only got like more awkward after that because I couldn't recover and keep telling jokes. I bailed at like 18 minutes. I didn't even do my full time because I was like, I physically can't do this, right? So I get off the stage. I bring him up. I say, all right, you know what, guys? That's enough of this. No one's having fun. Let's just get your headliner up here. And if I weren't at my home club, Hilarities in Cleveland, I probably would have still stuck out and done my whole time. But I knew how poorly it was going, and I knew they weren't going to be that mad. That if I was like, I can't do these last 7 minutes, you know? So let's get your headliner. You guys know him, you love him. I said, Nick Coletti. It is like people screaming, standing
cheersing,
up,
glasses breaking.
People are losing their minds.
People on people's shoulders. Big dog.
Yes.
Big dog.
Because it's all drunk 21-year-olds.
Yeah.
So they're so amped.
There's nothing they love more than saying, big dog.
And it's not, let's fucking go.
Let's make that in their Let's fucking go.
So they're so excited, and they hated me so much. So I think they were also just like so ready for him to get up there.
Yeah.
And he gets up there, and it's like he lets them die down, which probably takes a full 90 seconds for them to die down and sit back down.
Half his set is over. They finally calm down.
Yeah, and then he just goes, so, dude. And they're like, he said the thing! He did the thing! And they like lost it. And I started crying because that's what I do because I'm like, I hate this. I hate this so much. Yeah. And that was one of the ones where I was like, it's the audience. They didn't know who I was. They couldn't give two shits who I was. They're here to see the famous guy. They don't know comedy. They don't know me. I felt so bad and I was so upset and so angry. And I went back into the office and I'm crying and I'm pissed. I'm mad at this point. And the manager comes back and I said, no more. Because this is the third time you've done this to me where you've booked me with a fucking famous TikTok person and I bomb every time. I'm not doing it anymore. I was mad. He's like, it's not, just relax. It's not that big of a deal. You know, we're not going to hold it against you. I was like, find somebody else. Like, I'm not doing this anymore. This hurts. This hurts so bad because then you're questioning everything. You're
right. Am I a bad comic?
How could I have possibly won them over? What could I have done? You're going through and you're just it's all inside. It's all internal. And it sucks. And they're like, they're trying to make me feel better. And I was like, nah, dude, screw this. But,
so have you opened for a famous TikToker since?
No, that was the last one. Because I put my foot down. I was like, don't do this to me again. Absolutely don't do this to me again.
Yeah.
But, and again, absolutely nothing against Nick. He was super, super sweet. But the crowd, I mean, they're drunk 21-year-old dudes. Yeah. I think the oldest person in there might have been 25. Maybe. Yeah. And I'm up here like, I'm sober. My dad's dead. And the pandemic's weird. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's terrible. All right. I'm sweaty. That's it.
Sweaty just talking about it.
I'm sweaty talking about how bad it felt. It is true.
It's crazy how sweaty you get when you're bombing.
It is. It's just dripping.
I don't sweat. Even when I run, I might get a little on my back. And the 2 times I bombed like that, it's like I'm soaked.
I'm soaked right now. All right. We got to get out of here.
All right.
You can follow us on social media at Special Friends Podcast. That's Instagram and then YouTube where we get the full stuff. And then just do that. Special Friends NYC, by the way, we have an email. It's Special Friends NYC. So if you have any questions or you want to us to talk about a certain thing or whatever it is, send us an email or shoot us a DM on Instagram and we'll answer those. That might be fun. We'll have a little audience interaction. And then I'm at Mary Santora Comedy.
At Sarah Pop Tarts.
All right, we'll see you guys next week.
Bye.